see. Okay, it's on my page. I should have just, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Well, there we
Okay,
go.
so we are live on 15 platforms. Hello, everybody on the live and the replay. All of them are hooked up. But I think, let's see, we've even though we're on all these platforms, we have been getting suppressed, which only
Yeah, I've
means
noticed the exposure has been a lot less. Before we got on, I was actually looking, and the numbers of people that are watching it is doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. It's like it's way lower than it's been before.
Well, I think, yeah. Well, what I'm noticing is they're not getting notifications. So what happens is, and you'll watch it happen here. So we got 40 people. It'll take 20 to 30 minutes. That number will probably be 200. And it's because nobody's getting any notifications, to include YouTube. The other thing is some of those numbers, they're very misleading. I've been guided to always stay under the radar. So that's why I started originating off my Facebook page until we got to the point where we multi-streamed. But because we're on so many platforms, it looks like you can look at a video and it'll show 100 people watched it. But we're on 15 different platforms. If you add all those numbers together, it's considerable.
Right.
So yesterday was a good example. Did a show with Sandra. I think there was 1,100 people viewed it on my page. I checked the numbers on the live. It was close to 7,000. And that's not even counting the replays. So,
okay.
So it's, see, they're saying nope, no notification. Nobody's getting notifications. And so, but you know what? We just push through it and we just keep on rolling with it.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. So it's good to have you back in the house.
Well, good to be back. And it's always a pleasure to connect with you. So, yeah.
I put up a post the other day. I said, I'm going to admit it, this is my favorite person to share time with on SoulSpeaks 5D's Franco. I don't know if I tagged you on it, I think, but I wasn't trying to like blow smoke up you. I was just like, I don't know why I did it. It just came out. Maybe I was announcing something, but I tell people all the time. I just told Stephen Papatek, who was in my lab and who's been connected since his early 20s and had a lot of interesting experiences. I see him as being one of the guests that will be able to help us bridge and integrate or merge the conspiracy disclosure with the Starseed, Lightworker, Wayshore platforms. And I was just telling him, Franco's intel of not taking shots at anybody is I resonate with the most. He's got recall from the womb. I love the story about your twin brother and all that stuff in the womb, and of course the recall of other planetary incarnations. But more than that, it's the constant communion that you've had with this, what I call a very large energy complex of a great number of consciousnesses forming one conscious. That's the way I see it. And you are an extension of that or part of that. You just happen to be the one that incarnated down here, I guess, or maybe they all did in you. That probably makes more sense. And your stuff is always on time. And I like it too, because it's fluid. I remember talking to you a year and a half ago, and there was some stuff that you said and it was all legit and on time. And you're fluid. You come back and months later and it'll be like, okay, well, timeline's changed. We've accelerated it because we've done such a great job, and now it looks like this, and it can change. I love the way you explain everything. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to getting together with you in person. Maybe that'll happen in 2021. So
look forward to that. I'm really truly hoping to meet you guys in person.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So the last time we talked to you was 2 weeks before the election.
Yes.
And I have repeated this so many times because I felt it was so appropriate. And you explained that we hadn't chose how it would go. We hadn't chose how it would go. And that it would end up at the same place, that one side was a little bumpier than the other side. that the reality of transparency would continue to expand. So nobody's protected, nobody can hide, to include these two paths. But that in 2 or 3 years, we would get to a point where we would work through this, and the higher frequencies and intentions and so on, wisdom, love, and not everything would supersede and start to physicalize and manifest and materialize in such things as councils, as everything would be deconstructed. So given that you said that, and thank you for sharing that with us, and then given the events of what's occurring at this time, which is creating more chaos and more friction and more doubts and, testing people's cognitive dissonance, in that they put their eggs in a basket and it's not coming out the way they said. It's having people to really look at themselves. Has anything changed? What's the latest intel? And
You want the first scoop of everything that's going on now?
I want the first? However you want to put it out, it's fine with me.
No, just teasing. Actually, something really profound and powerful is became more aware of. I was aware that it was happening, but it's actually gone up to another level now. And the beauty here is that as much as there's a lot of influence from many, many levels of, polarized streaming, even agendas and narratives and who is the better solution, who's not the better solution, even the bumpy part and less bumpy, whatever it is, all of that being there. And the question that comes up from the collective, I don't hear it from people like actually asking me in physical form. I see it asking from a superconscious state, that what's happening here in regards to going one direction or another. Look at all this stuff now. They're rolling out this, further locking down, and then there's all this other stuff that you have these two political poles that are there and offered. Well, what I can share with you, and this is the exciting part, and I'm sure you'll feel it. If not, you can say so. I'm not here to put anything in you, because it's really about everybody's resonance. What's come very apparent, and it's going to be even more apparent after the 21st of December and more apparent later on, because we're going to see it. No matter what is being streamed right now, it doesn't matter the amount of intensity. It doesn't matter how much completion. A lot of people have put a lot of energy in the fact is, we got to make it right so that the right person gets in power, that there's corruption, that, how do we go beyond, all of this influence that we're having, not only by, the media, by the the chemtrails, the chemicals, whatever else that's being streamed, and all these other energies and so forth, even mind control, you name it. There's so much right now. How do we navigate through all of this? Well, what I can say, the impact all of those streamings have is reduced to about 25%. 75% is in whose hands? It's in Todd Medina's hands.
Yeah.
It's in all of us. Believe it or not, the thing is, when people say, well, how do we make sure that, all of this stuff gets rectified? Well, it's already rectified in a sense, because it's already unfolding the way it needs to unfold. But we're the ones that decides how long it takes, how many obstacles are going to be there, how much of those streams we're going to plug it in. So the thing is, it's like this. You go to your closet and you got 10 different outfits, right? And you say, which outfit's going to be the most impactful? Well, the thing is, all of those outfits are your choice. You can put on whatever you want. And what you're going to put on is going to be what you're going to represent. And this is what's happening on the collective scale. It's like, where do we want to put our focus and attention? The only reason that we would put focus and attention on anything right now is because we're still unsure and feel disempowered, saying that the ultimate solution is A or B,
Right.
light or dark, corruption or honesty, lies or truth, when it's not.
Yeah.
It's all there, all available, and for us to be able to utilize it. Now, the only reason we will play the polarity is for us to get a taste of the different parts of it. And also, now, the thing comes up, okay, well, what's happening through all this corruption in the electoral stuff? Okay. And you say, well, when is all this going to change? Because we keep getting information that in one way or another, that it's going to be sorted out and then the right person is going to be in place. The true answer is, how long is it going to take where people say, it does not matter because we're in the driver's seat anyways?
Right.
They are just role players. We're giving them the instructions, and either one can play whatever role, and we can eliminate either one. And we're not going to go into a disempowered state, because the thing is, a lot of people are still putting a focus. If the right one goes in, then life's going to be good. If the wrong one goes in, life is going to be bad. The point is, both are not the answer.
Right.
We are the answer. That 75% is us coming more online to narrate or direct where things go. However, we still give a lot of power of right, wrong, good, bad that we are working through right now. So the only reason there's a delay and there's more obstacles, say in the electoral stuff, just to give you one, is because there's so much of that power shifted right, wrong, good, bad. Look at it. If you're going to watch the media, you're going to hear both sides, maybe more of one side than the other. But how does it make you feel? Like, I know you may not pay that much attention. Neither do I.
You're asking me?
Yeah.
I find it, God, what would the word be? Yeah, because I have been feeling it. I find it silly, like I don't have an affiliation. I'm with you. I don't have an affiliation. But if I look at the media, it's so ridiculous as what narrative they're supporting and what they're not. And it's like, come on. Even in the alt news, I just look at it and go, I can't even look at it anymore. Like, I'm getting to the point now where, like, I know Trump came out today with his lawyers and had a press conference, and Morgan was watching it. But I just don't have, like, I can't expose myself to it anymore. It's become, what's the word? Inane. It's become silly. It's become irrelevant. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me tell you one thing. The thing is, say you're saying, okay, great. I see that, I want Trump or whatever it is to come in, or Biden, whatever. At this point, Trump, just to use as an example. The thing is, you hear the other side. You hear that the lawsuits are sometimes being disqualified. Some of them are not moving forward. They find, okay, there's a machine error, whatever it is. What happens every time we hear that? And this is for everybody. It's not just for you. This is for everybody, because I've been paying attention to it. Every time you hear, like, you have this hope that, okay, things are going to be sorted out. Everything goes back on track. But then when you see another obstacle, guess what happens? People gets disappointed. Their energy starts to drop. They start to feel more hopeless. They feel that this is not going to come to an end and all of that stuff. And that is what keeps it going.
Yeah.
Why? Like yourself, you're going to get to a point where many of them says, it does not matter.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not going to even put any power to it, because I'm not going to let it shift my energy. Now, the only reason it will shift your energy is because you've now applied one scenario, saying this is the right scenario or this is the wrong scenario. And then since that scenario is now playing out, it lowers your how you feel. But the point is, this is an exercise for us to say, it does not matter how it plays. I am the governor here, designer of my reality and the co-creative collective reality. So this is why when I pay attention, and I'm sure you notice it, the energies are like fluctuating like crazy. And the thing is, there's two waves. Because every time it seems like, oh, there's more lawsuits, whatever. I'm just using an example. And yet, you know, all the people that are hoping for, you know, the outcome to go the other way, their energy starts to die. And every time it's disqualified or something like that, the energies of the other one starts to go up. They go, oh yeah, we're going to get our thing. So you see the crisscrossing of these energies.
Yeah.
A very interesting wave that crisscrosses and so forth, right?
Yeah,
now,
nobody's going to be able to say when it's over. Nobody's going to be able to say, "I told you so," because there's no. Yeah, I get you. Keep going.
Yeah, so this is the thing. But the only reason that all of this is being delayed and stretched out is because it gives us the opportunity to get to the point, like you said, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. I'm going to put my focus on the work I'm doing, the energies I am flowing through me, what I am doing to empower humanity. And when I say doing empower humanity, all you're doing is reminding them that they're an empowered being. And in fact, no one has any power over them. See, the thing is, the realization is that the ultimate outcome that we are choosing to do, it's no longer saying, oh, the direction that it goes is what's going to shape my life. Either I'm going to be in prison or I'm going to be free. We're free.
Yeah.
We're an illusionary projection. And the more people say, it's not about fighting it, it's more people that say, hey, wait a minute. I am free. I've always been free. I bought into the idea. I played for it, adopted it as non-free. But now I'm realizing, hey, I've always been free. The door's always been unlocked out of this artificial jail or of some sort. And when I say jail, about going into feeling that everybody else were governing how we experience life. So when we're looking at it right now, the dance of the intensity of November and December is what we are seeing, where people are going up and down to the point of saying, hey, I'm not going for this ride anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to now lock into my energy, not the collective's energy, because the collective is a reflection of everything else. Now, somebody says, well, how do we shut down some of the stuff that's going on? Well, first of all, the only reason we see it is because we believe it still has to be there, and it still is there. But in fact, we can turn on and off anything. You can have the most elaborate transmitter transmitting, say, pulses of depression or hopelessness or whatever it is, or activating certain programs in your mind so that you feel all scrambled. But we can just turn it off like this because we're the ones that allow it to come through or not. But the only reason we're allowing it is not because we're making any mistakes and say, well, I'm putting the wrong focus. No, it's about, it's allowing because I still want to see that I have the capacity to shift that direction. When you come to the point, it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on. I'm going to connect and relate and feel my own essence in this experience. That not only shifts you, shifts everybody around you and creates such a huge impact collectively. Like there's a wave that I don't care if you got 1,000 freaking satellites beaming down, polarized negative energy, you are basically tapping into your source essence and it'll negate every part of it.
Right.
Because you understand the technology is an illusion too.
Yeah.
Okay. And the technology is only governed by us. It cannot exist without us governing. Yes, we're all in the same field. Yes, within the field, we can project, even the matrix can exist.
Yeah.
But it's a software. We turn it on, we turn it off, we can manipulate, shape it, whatever it is. Now, even when the inverted matrix was closed loop, we still had power to it, but because of its influence and whatever else, which is not there anymore, we didn't feel that it could. Now it's a completely different So we're in a completely different state now, and it's just moving forward more. So the thing is, the real changes are self-realization that in fact we are governing this, including this lockdown stuff and whatever. What do you think this next wave is about? It's because it's pushing further to the point of removing freedom and showing absolute insanity, absolute non-resonance, absolute, and it creates, of course, a lot of fear and whatever else, but unsustained fear, even if fear is an illusion anyways, but even showing unsustainability. It's like there's not even a threat, but it's an illusionary projection. Now, every level of fear is a projection, but we're talking about a projection that doesn't even have a whisper of empowerment or energy in it. It's just smoke and mirrors, diluted so much that it's like a smoke you could see right through it, and you can't even tell it's practically there. That's how weak it's gotten because of it. But we're still looking at the little tiny, there's a little thing here. Boom, let's make it as big as possible. Let's go into this whole, massive reality creation within ourselves and others around us.
Yeah, man. I'm getting downloaded like crazy listening to you. I didn't even know I was going to be able to stay up. I thought I was going to faint. All this stuff is coming to me. I just had Stephen Popiotek on from New York City, and I met him in Sedona, and he was my lab. And he also woke up very early in his 20s and has done a lot of work around this and whatever. One of the things he was talking about he had met a couple of people who were insiders who were talking about some of the technology that was being utilized that's kept from us, obviously, and so on. The point is that he was talking about, and this is like NSA and other, he was talking about the level of, I guess we would call it AI, how it is so close now to human consciousness. And what he was saying that, you hear the stories about, AI is going to take over, but it was the other way. He was saying it's so close to human consciousness that the human consciousness can now flip it out, can just negate it instantly. Exactly. So that was one of the things that popped up. The other thing that popped up too, Sandra Walter, I also feel has excellent intel. She was on yesterday. Hers is right up there, you, Morgan, Franco. I mean, you, Sandra, Morgan, to me, are like, for me, those are my three go-tos, right? And she was talking about the period between the solstice, and I want to say it runs about 5 to 6 weeks. She called it a wave of revelation. And she said that, because we were talking about, wow, we've seen a lot of projection and polarization, but it's really ramped up in the last couple of months with the election and people really coming out. And you and I have talked about this, and she said that this revelation wave is so powerful that we're not even going to be looking at that stuff within ourselves. We won't have to, because what we're actually going to be seeing is our true nature and our true reality, and it's going to be huge. And it runs, 4 or 5 weeks, whatever, transition into 2021. Is this the type of evolvement that you're picking up on too? I mean, are we getting to the point now where not only are we going to start to look away from the distortion because it's gotten so ridiculous, but even at the distortion within ourselves, which is so far away from our true nature that we just go, I'm not even going to waste my time with that anymore. I'm going to swim in this water of my true reality and my nature. And that's not even, it's like water on a duck's back, right? Is that where you're at?
Absolutely. The thing is, it's, we've been programmed rightfully because we've accepted the whole idea that, our environment shapes us. And it doesn't matter if we're coming in with a soul that has already been, achieved a certain level of enlightenment, which, supersedes most of the what's being experienced on planet Earth, that, we accept the conditioning of that part. So this phase that Sandra was talking about, that we're going into, is really to ignite our our own essence, so that in fact we go into our true state and we actually do and play out and express and experience the role that we have designed with ourselves in coming here in the first place, so that we now become the builders of what people call the new earth, because the new earth is already there, but the thing is we start to shape it more. So it doesn't matter what's going on. So this wave that we're talking about, because the thing is, I mean, the whole 2021 is about disclosure, but the disclosure goes even further. Not only discovering ourselves, but discovering all the games and everything, and how we could actually step in there and make changes. But the key here of the next phase of it after the solstice is that self-realization at another level, and also accessibility to ourselves from a grander perspective, rather than a perceived idea of what humanity represents. Because we're not, the one thing we have to understand, we are not expressing true humanity within ourselves.
Yeah.
So you could say, well, people could say, well, we're not expressing true essence, true beingness, but we're not even expressing true humanism.
Yeah.
Because we're way more than what we've experienced. We have experienced the last 10,000 years. We're extremely powerful and extremely capable, and what we can do here. So that's another level of realization, that level of reactivation in a sense, and also bringing the other parts. So we're bringing a next level of humanism, true humanism, next level, not full, next level of beingness, and next level of sourceness combined, creating this next level of this expression of you for all of us.
Yes.
And that's what's coming in, because that is going to be super powerfully instrumental to really move things more quickly. Because the thing is, in any level of disclosure, regardless, when we start to see more behind the curtain, we've been seeing that. Many people have already been seeing that. And that's why we don't give that much power to what's going on, because it's a game. But a lot of people still give a lot of power to the thing is. So, but there's many, many more of seeing beyond the veil. Now, okay, unfortunately, a lot of times, and it's not unfortunate because it's fortunate too, because it exposes a lot of things within ourselves, that when we see behind the veils, there's still judgment. There's still polarization. They're the evil ones, they're the good ones. We're black, we're white, dark hats, white hats, this, that, whatever you want to call it, light and dark, whatever it is. We're going to move further than that, where we see behind the veils more and more, and we don't even apply this form of so-called judgment to anything that we see. We just see it. Oh, wow, I can now see how it was constructed. I can see how it actually created this illusionary limitation, but this illusionary inversion that we've played the game. We can see the people that were graceful enough to play the lowest vibrational roles, and the ones that were doing the opposite. I can see that. But with that exposure or disclosure, then you're looking at it and say, oh, okay, great. Now we bought into this whole idea that we were, inferior or this and that or whatever it is, and we never had sovereignty or never had free will or anything of that nature. But now I can see, oh, great, look at all that's there. But then from that state, you can now say, oh, okay, now we see it. We can take out what no longer serves very easily, because it's all smoke and mirrors in a sense, right? And you can turn off any part of it. And we are choosing to do so. Now, the beauty of all of this is that even that, we have many, many other screens that are overlaid. So depending on us individually, how far we get energetically and consciousness and self-grounding and be able to look in that empower, we can look at the different layers of screen, because each level of screen has more exposure and less disclosure.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
as you're shifting, you get to see more, but you're seeing it more only when there's no judgment, only when there's none of that stuff. So you actually go into the screen further and further and further, and then that gives you a much more empowered state to go in and make those changes. And it's not that hard. You know, a lot of times people say, well, this whole shift is going to be like a war and it's going to be very difficult.
No.
Not, because it's just we're in
There's nothing trying to hurt us. I
and
mean, we should be past.
streams get turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off.
I think I need to smell this coffee. I think somebody slipped me some ayahuasca. So something happened and it kept popping in, not to mention your whatever you are popped in. I can't even explain it. I've seen things, you know, obviously with you and other people, but yeah, there's a huge presentation that's appearing in my mind's eye, and it's you and your team. I guess that's what I'd call it. I think it's all you, actually. You just have all these parts of you.
Unicorn, unfortunately, but no, it's actually fortunate, and it can be colorful at the same time.
Yeah. Well, they presented it as a huge, oh God, like almost like a godly, majestic elephant with a kind of a copper, golden copper kind of a skin with these two big tusks, and you were front and center, and all of your other aspects are there. And I don't even know what to say about it other than it was very exciting. And I'm listening, I'm hearing everything that you're saying, and they're showing me something leading me to ask you a question. So the other night, we did our normal thing. Then once we went our separate ways, so to speak, and I connected further. So I had this experience, and I did not know if my eyes were open, because what I was seeing was this infinite, endless corridor in my room, or what I thought was my room. So then I opened my eyes, and I went like that, and I closed them, and I went like that, and I'm seeing the same thing. So I opened my eyes, and I'm looking at this infinite, endless corridor. And that's a very weak explanation of what I saw, because in this endless, infinite corridor, they weren't walls, but there were sectors. It was segmented. It was like these squares. If you walked through it, you'd see a square next to you, like you would in an elevator. You know, if you can just picture an elevator and the sidewalls being what they are. And every one of them represented a level of what you were just referring to, like a veil. As you walked through each one, each time you walked past the next square, there would be more visible, more of the endless, infinite visible. Anyway, the long story short is, so I'm sitting there, and you know, I've had experiences like this before with the mirrors and different things, and you know, and I'm kind of tired. You know, I'm kind of tired. I'm like, man, I want to go to sleep. I don't think I want to go jump into this, because it's pretty weird, because I'm looking at this, and this is not me falling asleep, waking up. Am I asleep? I'm wide awake. The reason I said I'm tired is because I didn't want to get up, because I'm hearing, you know, if you get up and you start walking, a lot of stuff's obviously going to come to you, but it's going to be, if somebody were watching you, you would actually walk right through this wall, because in essence, the wall's not there. And so I know I'm getting this message, and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Is this coming into our field? As these veils are removed, and you're saying, like we were talking about earlier, you know, you asked me the question about the media and such, and I said, you know, I don't even look anymore, because it's not applicable anymore. So the same with my programming. And I guess more on my question is, and I don't want to sound pie in the sky here, but I mean, like, seems to be kind of the direction we're headed. What I'm feeling in is that anything and everything, to include these walls in this room, that's at some point not going to be relevant anymore, and it's gonna disappear? I mean, I guess where I'm going with it is I'm listening to you. I'm getting what I was getting. I was asked to ask this question. Is it related? Is it, in your opinion, in your perspective, are we headed into that type of potential?
Well, yes, in a sense, when we're looking at it, everything that we're seeing is basically just a what we call a holographic projection. Everything is just light show in a sense. Now, because of the stages we went through, we made things very, very real. Now, the example that you were saying about going down the hallway, and as you walk through these veils, you're now walking to other openings of energies coming in and possibilities, probabilities, and whatever else. But again, even that, there's no rigidity. You actually make it along the way. So you're just accessing more resources. And the resources is now, each time you go in more resources, you're able to move things and redesign it very instantaneously, more to match what you are being exposed to. So everything comes to that. Now, as much as we're looking at the walls, and you're saying, well, if you're walking through it, you'll see that the walls will, you can walk right through it and whatever else. Yes, you can. And at some point, yes. But for a long period of time now, we're going to find that we see the walls, we appreciate it for what it is. It's part of the video game movie that we're in. We're not going to give it power that it's going to hold me back. But at the same time, we're going to appreciate that its presence because it kind of shapes the frame of what we want to play with. And the dance with everybody also, because everybody becomes part of those, even the role player become part of what we would represent as the wall, because the walls, because of the fact that they will play whatever various roles. So what we are doing, we are walking down this hallway, some moving faster than the others. And as we're doing so, we're reaching more self-realization, more capacities to be able to restructure our immediate and the different levels of reality so that it's more reflective of what we have agreed to play with. So the thing is, what's happening now is not only the reminder, but it's also at the same time, like yourselves and others, are already showing, because the thing is, it's like, let me give you an example. This is a fun little example. As a kid, sometimes, there's something that has to be done. Okay. And there's a bunch of friends there and nobody wants to take the first step. Everybody goes, no, you go.
Yeah.
So guys like yourself, like Todd and others around the world, and even listening right now, are the ones that saying, okay, I'll take the first step. Now, what happens is as you're taking the full steps, everybody's watching and seeing what really happens to you. And in fact, as you're doing that, you're unsure what to expect. But at the same time, you feel a pull, a push of saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And as you're doing, you're actually, oh, Todd's doing it. Todd's doing it. Fred, Nancy, whoever else, all these people are doing it. And it's like, well, that's okay. This whole idea that change, we need to be afraid of change. We need to be afraid of the unknown starts to crumble because that's an illusion too. Yeah. So as you're walking along, it's like, oh, that can be done. And this is the reason some of even the milestones that have been experienced in humanity where, it's physically related, where somebody can't or nobody seems to break a certain threshold. And the moment one person breaks that threshold and crosses over, then many people all over the world are starting now to break that cross that threshold too, and that's what we're doing. So many are feeling like, I'm not going to even be stopping. I'm just going to keep moving forward. Yeah, may I slow down sometimes to integrate a little bit, but I'm going to keep moving because as I'm moving it, I'm now going into what looks like uncharted territory, but I'm going into home territory in a sense, and be able to access more and more people that are observing you going through it, and your own energy changes, and the access that you have, and the reality that shapes around you is actually kind of giving them, oh, that can be done, and then you'll see more and more of that happening. And it goes back to even the thing about what you were saying, is that a lot of people will put a lot of attention on it. I gotta listen to what's going on. I gotta listen to the media. I gotta watch what's going on.
Mm.
And imagine guys like yourself saying, it's insignificant. It doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden people start to say, hey, wait a minute. His life is not, things keep moving and he seems to be okay and he's not putting attention there. I'm not going to put that much energy anymore. I'm going to actually go in and feel the way I really want to feel about life, and start shaping the world accordingly, because I just see the world within myself as a projection. And this is what I'm saying, what people would do, because Todd went down that hallway a little further. And it's not only Todd, but many, many other people.
I know. God. Jeez. I got to tell y'all something else too. So two people, and I know this is accurate, and I'll figure it out later, and I'll talk about it. But while this is happening, of course, there's this huge vortex, and I can see the field. I can always see the field, but sometimes you see things more than others, and I'm really getting hammered. I saw two people step up and shoot, like two people from this vortex, like from this community who's watching or whatever, shoot it looked like a lightning bolt into my heart. It really wasn't even my heart. I think it was more like Soulogy. I don't know what that means, but I know there's a third one coming, and something's going to happen after that one. I don't know what that means. There's a lot of revelation coming through in this. Well,
a lot of it is very powerfully supported, because the thing is, you have to understand. So if you look at Soulogy, there's the dream, there's the actions that you've been taking, and you're at the helm of it all, and it's coming on unfoldment. But there's still, you don't have to say, but you can. There's a little bit of a knowing, but a bit of an unsureness about how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So these lightning bolts sort of thing that you described is like, you're on track, we're supporting you, and what we've united and what we are capable of doing is unstoppable.
Yeah.
And we can drop the unsureness, because we do not need to have feedback to tell us we're on the right track.
Yeah.
We don't need social media to pat us on the back and say, hey, you're doing a good job, or pat us on the back or kick us in the butt and saying, hey, we don't want you on the platform. Because it goes way beyond that. And that's the thing. So we're doing what we need to do, and we're doing it regardless, what anything else does. So that's there to stimulate you and everybody involved, because this is bigger than, there's people that have not only are following and have contributed their time and effort and energy and money, whatever it is, to put Soulogy together, and specifically you with everything that you've been doing. But it's like worldwide, even though they're not showing up as projections of people, there is a collective level that's saying that and other avenues is necessary. So every time you get this burst, it's actually preparing it even more powerful. Like what you were saying before, all of a sudden it can blossom to reaching millions of people and beyond, and it becomes unstoppable. And it's not because we're now depending on anybody or anything, because it is a force coming from many, many aspects of ourselves, and also being reinforced by even teams that are not even on the planet at this point, that are working through all these individuals and also directly.
God. Man, I think we're about to, on the linear timeline, let me make that clear. On the linear, and I told you, I think it was before we started the broadcasting, about that thing I had last week, where the short of it was they came in and said, "You guys, this team, on the ground, whatever you want to call yourselves, you're about to get." It's a lot like what you were talking about in terms of getting this, the awareness getting to a point where all this stuff just goes away, including shadows and including, and I'm not talking that maybe that doesn't apply to everybody, but I got this message to the team. It wasn't even like get with it, get jiggy with it. It was more like, hey, talk about unstoppable. This is what's sinking in right now. And when that happens, you won't be tied to the distortions and the distractions on the say the global scale in your shorter circles around you, and it'll just be a different game altogether. And that's what I'm getting from this right now.
Yeah. You made an excellent point, because even what you call the shadows, programs, belief systems, perceptions, adopted ideas, and whatever else will not have the impact. And in fact, it just dissolves.
Yeah.
Because what happened, you have to understand, most of what you call shadows, of everything I just said too, was created in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D, at a lower frequency of your own frequency, lower frequency from a collective perspective, and when we were choosing to support that stuff. Because in fact, as we're walking down this hallway, as we're moving forward, those frequencies cannot exist.
Mm-mm.
Even the memories in the subconscious mind, a lot of it would just deteriorate. And it's not because you're losing your mind, but the first thing that goes is the definition and labels of experiences. Because look at it this way. An experience is an experience. An experience does not have any power or any definition until we apply a definition and a label. Where does the definition and label come from? It comes from the idea that's been projected through what we call the ego, which is artificial intelligence, which goes back to what you were saying earlier about artificial intelligence. We've been immersed in artificial intelligence our whole life, and many, many, many lives before that, because it's been around for 10,000 years and it's learned. However, it does not have any power unless we give it the opportunity to play. And we all have, to a certain degree or another, to have that experience, but we can turn it on and off anytime at this point in time. Even though it's not being supported, it makes it even easier. So for us to go through what we're going, like you said, all of this stuff, labels or whatever it is, it's insignificant. It's not even a project to do anymore. Now, some of us learn from the project. Some of us have to discover that those things are there. So we will go through the project. But once you got rolling and your stuff is shifting and your focus is now intentionally what you feel guided within, then feedback, approval, good enough, not good enough, I'm not supported, I'm not supported, I'm not loved or anything, becomes insignificant, because first of all, you see the truth. The truth is it's all made up, it's all fictional, it's all smoke and mirrors in a sense, right? So we get to see that. And then when you see that, poof, everything starts to dissolve very quickly because it's not necessary. Now, the world may still reflect a lot of those things, but the thing is, like I was saying, it can stream all at once. I say, not interested. I'm not going to put any energy there. Not that you see it good or bad, because look at it. Like, does it really matter?
Yeah.
When in fact, my real job, look at it this way. Let me ask you a question, Todd, and this applies to everybody. Is your job to look at who gets in power, what happens to this so-called V that's going on, not to get tagged here, all of this stuff, locking down, whatever it is it your intention to decipher it, to see who's right, who's wrong, who's good, who's bad, what's going on, what's not going on, what's deceptive, what's not deceptive? Or is your true purpose here is to dissolve all of that and to lay out a new way of life, a new reality that supersedes all of that?
Yeah.
that because it's no longer necessary. So when I ask you this question, which one are you here for?
You know which one I'm here for.
There
It's
you
not
go.
the first one.
This is what everybody is to some degree or another,
Yeah.
and some really much deeper. But the only reason that we're still giving any attention to it at this point is getting to that saturation point. You say, wait a minute, I'm putting a lot of energy, time, and so forth. In fact, it's actually controlling me because it changes my emotions, it changes my frequency, it changes how I feel. Because yeah, you watch one of the newscasts, for example, and just pay attention. How's my frequency feel right now? Do I feel excited? Do I feel lower? Do I feel depressed? Do I feel sad? Do I feel fear? Do I feel this? And then you go, oh, okay, I just gave the key to that information, which is just a fake stream, anyways, because all of it is just made up, to alter what I see, how I feel, how I respond, and also change my frequency. And then you go, oh, that's what I did. Well, that was a cool ride. However, now I take that back. I am no longer going to give you the key. I'm going to navigate the key within myself to really design it the way I choose. And that's how we create the changes. And this is what people are realizing more and more as we go along.
Yeah. Wow. I have another transmission download that I got, which might be a little personal, but I just have to tell you about it because I think that it's some level, not that I need it, was some level of validation or connection. I'm not really quite sure because, dream state's been very active and a lot of people have talked about it, and a lot of people have talked about it in the last few weeks about the leveling up of their transmissions and the data and the memories and code and such. So I had this download, which was like a continuation of the early years of my awakening, which had to do with galactic wars and galactic lineage and so on and so on and so on. Kind of stopped for a while. Then it popped back in about 10 days ago. And I'm like, why is this here? I didn't get an answer, but basically it was taking me to the galaxy. It was galaxy wide. It talked about how there is much more existing in the galaxy than we even know. Like there's like 3-4 times more planets even in the solar system that we think there's 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever it is.
Yep.
And they were showing me different aspects in the galactic makeup and so on and so on and so on, history and this type of thing. The thing that really jumped out at me when I was sitting there going, wow, here we go again, like the doubt you're talking about and all that, like, is this really happening? Da, da, da. They popped in and they were like, and I don't know, I'm trying to put words to it, but like 15,000 years ago, let me tell you how this last leg of this got stepped up. And they show me the moon being pulled like by a tugboat, like a smaller, and they pull it over here to the earth. And this was correlating with your intel. In fact, you were there. You were in the field. And so I was like, oh, so this is how it happened. Like they brought the moon over. Here's the next phase. We're going to invert the matrix and all that stuff. So I had to tell you that and I don't even have to ask you because I know I can tell by your expression. But yeah, I can see that I was already validated. Not that I needed it, but so let's switch up on that. Why is this type of information coming in for any of us? Why is it ramping up now? I walked away from it going, why are you telling me this? Like, can I use this information? And I really didn't get an answer of, yeah, you need to know your galactic lineage or you need to know this or that. It was more of like, we're just filling in the blanks. You're just remembering kind of thing. But can you expand on that or shed any light on that?
Yeah, that's a good point. And absolutely the kind of the being drawn, bringing the moon into place. Now, what you talked about, there's more planets. There's actually more solar systems and more planets in the galaxy. The same thing is that we have our own personal solar system has, or personal, we shouldn't say that, our solar system that we're involved in have more planets. Now, the reason we don't see it is because the vibration that we're able to see, because of all of this lowering that we've experienced, they're vibrating at such a frequency that we cannot see it. So they're invisible to us, but they're there. And as we're moving along, we're going to see more of those planets because our visionary, what we call vision, but our frequency will be able to see a higher range, and you will see these planets come into place. The same thing with the whole complete solar systems within the galaxies itself. More of them will become visible. So we're looking through a lower frequency. It's like saying I'm going to go on to the radio station, but I'm only able to dial up, or I'm going to only dial up to a certain frequency, say from 680 to 10 something. But there's so many more after that. But the thing is, because we've said no, I'm just going to look in this range, we're not seeing all the other stuff. But as we're going through this process of our own energy and our own frequency increasing, you're going to start seeing a lot of that stuff. Now, the other part of it is, as much as we've bought into the limited range of what we can experience and accept as a reality, that is being stretched and opened up to go back to more of that, because we were able to see more planets. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about it.
Go ahead.
The fact that they saw that there were 3 additional planets, even from 15,000 years ago, that were in our solar system alone. In fact, the galaxy, when you actually looked in the sky, was even more concentrated. Like it looked more of like a mass of light rather than certain particles here and there, even though the Milky Way looks pretty heavy, but it was actually even more massive. And when the inverted matrix and all that stuff was put in and our vibration adjusted and lowered, that we saw less and less of it. That was kind of the changes that occurred. So with this reversal process, we're going to see much more of it. So it's kind of triggering our own knowing because we have that. And the other thing too is as our DNAs are becoming more and more in line, because it's not just on and off. DNAs are not on and off. Okay. You can have them off, and they have been pretty well for 10 of them out of the 12 were off. The other 2 were minusculely opened up, but as they get turned back on, they don't just flick on like a light switch. It's like a little dimmer switch, and the thing is, because there'll be too much of a flood of input. Yeah. Plus, they won't all stream at the same time, even though we have the capacity to do that. So, in fact, we will open say, oh, I want this one to stream in a little bit more, then I'll allow this other one to stream in, because I need to go through integration process. I need to go through, because we're still going through from carbonic to silicate to crystal, even though we have all 3. It's just the ratio is changing. And for us to be able to have all 12 DNA streaming fully, we have to be crystal. Okay, because then it could hold all of those spectrums of frequency without shattering the holographic projection, because there has been so long that we've run through those lower ranges of frequency or lower bandwidth, because we've had many bandwidths, but we've lowered the bandwidth. So we can't just open up the bandwidth. I've seen it happen. I've had some people that had a little glimpse. You probably have had it yourself, but I know I've even looked at it myself, but had all of a sudden a window sort of thing opened up in your mind's eye sort of thing, to be able to see many inputs all at once for maybe a few seconds, or maybe a minuscule of a second. And it's just, whoa, it was a shock, but that was just like a trigger. But at the same time, you could see that if all of that was coming in all at once for a long period of time, we're not capable of handling that yet. And this is part of
Mhm.
the transitional stuff that we're going through, is to be able to harness more of that and utilize it. Even going into oneness is kind of profound. And there's many, many levels of oneness. But if we're talking about true oneness, which is not our intent to go into, our full intent was to go away from in oneness and eventually along the way. But the closer we get to oneness, the less potentiality. There's no possibility to even create physical form,
Yeah.
galaxies or planets or universes or anything of that nature. You have to separate from that. But the first stage of oneness is full realization of all your parts. The next stage is the fact that each one of us is one. The sentient beings are one with us. The planet is one with us. The solar system, the galaxy, the universe, and those are our different ranges. But going into oneness of sourceness, everything disappears because you're everything, you're nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
Meaning that you're not creating anything yet because you're just it, right? But that was the intent of not going there anytime soon, unless it goes through a reset, and the reset is merge all together and then start all over again. But when you start over again, it's going to be at an increased level, anyways.
Yeah.
So I think I had a point there, but
Yeah. No, you're good.
I dropped it on there. So
Well, I mean, and that's another way to look at it too, because it's not about the the evolution of the fight between good and evil. It's actually an assimilation. We can't just jump in there with both feet. Our brains would be fried. We can't contain it. So it's I can see that part of it, that it is coming in steps. It does seem like it's uh, these steps are gaining in frequency, both in terms of how quick they happen and the level of frequency.
the mind is really, really powerful. The thing is, it's been unused for so long. It has been tuned down to like a fraction. We're talking like 2, 3, 4, 5%.
Mhm.
That's it. That's what we've been using for so long. And
Yeah,
unless
like a speck of pepper on an elephant's butt.
yeah,
I can relate to that, because that some of this stuff that I got too. Um, so for instance, I was shown how post the moon being moved, the new projection, or the inverted 3D or whatever. I saw it. It was like Eden, right? It was like Eden. It was a paradise. And then somebody, I guess, got downloaded and said, "This is the way it should be." And then somebody else said, "No, it should be this way." And then somebody else said, "No, you're both." And I watched duality like a pyramid go, brrr, and got all built.
yep.
They showed me the the civilizations and the peoples and the species, many, many, many of them humanoid, that were all over every planet, Venus, Mars, Mercury. I mean, and they're like, I'm like, and I'm looking even like the Earth itself, inner Earth and such, and so I'm looking at it all and I'm going, wow, that's like, wow, we haven't even left the solar system, and there's another 35, 40 planets. I don't know how many, and there's all these life forms, and now look at all these humanoids. And then I was shown like that basically we were seated here, which isn't rocket science, but they were showing me like the creators of within the solar system, like the way it was born. And I saw these serpent beings. They were kind of like chief architects, and then there's some reptilians, and there was this and there was that. And I'm looking at it going, holy effamole, wow. And then I'm shown, hey, it's just a speck of pepper on the elephant's butt. That's it. We're just showing you this right here, which then even threw me further, because I was like, oh my God, I thought I was just becoming like, the Buddha. I thought you were like dropping a dime on me here, and I was going to go out tomorrow and something, but that was the both the provocative part of it, but also the grounding part of it. Like, no matter what happens, no matter who you are, just stay Todd. Stay Todd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Todd is unfolding and opening up everybody else more and more every day. And the thing is, too, we have so many versions of ourselves and other aspects of ourselves and so forth that really are excited to be working with you and many of us at the time. That as it's coming along, it's like you have a much more powerful, not only communication but also what role you can play
Yeah.
and really step things up in a powerful way. And this is why you get more downloads, you get more levels of communication. And because each time that happens, you expand further, it actually creates more opening for even more to come through. And it's basically, besides reminding you who you are, it's helping unfold a part of you that has never unfolded before. Uh,
Yeah.
in its own existence. But what you described there of what you saw,
Yeah.
it was excellent because it's so fantastic to hear that to come out of your mouth. Because
Does it sound familiar to you?
absolutely, it's
Does
like
it really?
I've seen this for a long, long time.
I
And
was looking at it going, and then the crazy thing is like with the I would call them serpent, not snake, but it, as I started to see that part of it, I was like, well, I've never seen that before. Then I started to see all of the symbology in the history of the earth that basically points to this whole story, that was like, wow.
you've
Right before our eyes, right?
you've described it so perfectly, and that's so accurate because that's how it is.
Yeah. That's
With
what
even any of my memories from prior to coming here, and I'm not talking about Franco, I'm talking about the soul, and of
yeah.
course embodied Franco, but also everything that I've got to see. What you've described is much of that I've seen, and this is what I've always known to share with others as they were prepared. And today was a good day because it even came from you. And as you're saying it, there's a warmth coming in. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, he's coming online like.
I'm aligning with some of you anyway. I saw you. It's very complex energy complex.
Well, the thing is too, is what's interesting is the soul that embodies my physicality here was one of the main engineers when planet Earth was retooled, reseeded, and that so-called Eden thing got designed.
Yeah.
It's true, and this was even before the moon because the moon didn't even exist there. It showed up 5,000 years later, got pulled into space, pulled into the orbit. But to me it was like a walkthrough of describing of that design and the fact of yes, it's so great to hear it because to be entrusted, self-entrusting, being your own self-entrusting to get a glimpse of that, it's going to be impactful and impactful because there's another streamer now. You've become even more powerfully streaming, and many other people right now that are also seeing that because even as you're describing it, that memory is being triggered on many people's uh, inner knowing and triggering their souls, but also because you have to understand, like even see people say, well, the souls will remember, but I'll tell you one thing: our bodies has been here since it's been reseeded with the genetic codes, the DNAs that have been evolving and gone through the different processes. It has that memory for that window of 5,000 years from in that Eden, what you call the Garden of Eden, sort of an Eden creation. It has that memory. The human entity is the sole aspect that has been reincarnated on planet Earth from day one, what we call since the reseeding. The soul, what we call the interdimensional, multidimensional soul that, has experiences in other realms, may have those memories.
Yeah.
I also have seen it from different vantage points from different playgrounds and so forth. So it's not like, oh, we're bringing in this information that's new. No, that implant, that blueprint, that knowing is in the body, is in the human entity, And in many cases, a lot of the souls that have already accessed that. Those are all, it's not new. It's not
Yeah.
new. It's new because we haven't, brought it into our consciousness, have been experienced because it was difficult to do so. But now more of that's coming in. So it's nothing new, but we're now be able to see it actually even more powerfully because we've gone through the polarity, contradictive experience and the inversion process all these
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. It's, I've asked you like 5 times. Can you explain to me again the soul lineage and the human lineage? And in that transmission, I actually got more clarification on that too, because I said, wait a minute, because they just said, look, we're just going to consider the container of the galaxy, knowing that there's more out, just showing you this story. So when they showed it to me, I was like, okay, wait a minute now. I'm not from in here. I'm not from within this container. They said, no. I said, so where am I from? And they're like, well, just picture out here, poof, there you are. I was like, oh, that, I remember that. Like, I know that's the soul lineage. Like what they were showing me was, I guess, what you call the human entity lineage, and that's not even doing it justice. But I did see the difference, and it gave me more clarity there. It's fascinating, a very fascinating series of transmissions, because there was the element of what you were talking about earlier, which was like, that's water on a duck's back now. I mean, I'm not going to look over there. I mean, this is just stupid. I had this picture of God sitting next, me as God, laying next to like a pond or a lake, just chilling out. And somebody walks up and says, oh, you're God. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, so do you remember that time way back then in such and such plant, that time and place, and you did this to me? And I was like, in other words, in that moment, that was just like, that doesn't even live in this frequency. Like, so the human lineage part of it that we get caught up in, and the conspiracies and this and that and all that, that's the catalyst, I guess, or the friction, the antagonist, or the creator with, the creator creating with itself. I don't know, but I did get the difference. So that was one. And then two, the other way it was shown was like, okay, so stand outside the container and now look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And from that perspective, obviously, it was more of a embodied perspective, though. Like we say, hey, just look at it from a higher vantage point, and everything's in perfect order. Yeah, and I get that. But when I did that, and I looked at the container, I went, oh, wow, what a cool fishbowl. Like everything is equal. Everything is the same. Yet there's all this tapestry of experience and expansion and revelation. And yeah, it was a really powerful thing. And I understand that whatever's happening to an individual, say in this case it's me, is just a marker for what's available in the collective, or where the collective is at, and so that's exciting. I'm excited. I really am. I'm just like, whoa, hold on. So
yeah, and in addition to what you just said there, like you were saying, you're sitting next to God or whatever else, and you remember what you did or something like that. Not only that it's insignificant, you would feel, yeah, wasn't that cool?
yeah.
We did that, and
Yeah.
look at what we were able to do. Because it would be exactly that. When we go into that higher state and we look at our past and we look at everything that's played out, and we've given so much power and polarity to, it's like, whoa, that was cool ride, and it was not only cool, we really got lost in it, and then covered through it and did whatever. And so it becomes not only an excitement, but actually it not, like, first of all, it will never take you into polarity world any longer, but you can just see the majestics and the beauty of your capacity to be able to play there and do all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I was, for some reason, Morgan can't keep her hands off me lately. I'm just kidding. It's the other way around. I don't know what's happening. But anyway, I told her last night, I was like, you know, I know your multidimensional aspects. I've watched you morph for, 45 minutes, the different incarnations that we were involved with. I know this and that. I said, but at this time, I feel like we're landing. Like, I just want to get to know Morgan Lee, just this part, because this is the part that and Todd too, and Franco too, that I don't know. Will I be able to tap back into it with this much physicality or whatever? And to me, I'm not saying that because of what I was referring to jokingly, but more of this is kind of like, it's weird. It's like we're getting away from what we thought we were. We're moving to what we are. And then the human aspect is in the middle going, hey, I'm both parts of this. Like, you can't leave me because you're me. You kind of think it's weird. But it's like I said, I'm excited about it. Somebody keeps seeing the gray Franco. I've seen about 29, more than that, more like 70 or 80 Francos. Before we get out of here, let's remind everybody about the Advancing Consciousness series. That's on YouTube and other platforms. This is now 82 or it's a lot of videos. You're talking about 200 hours of what I think is a living Akashic library for not just for humanity, but beyond to other timelines and dimensions. Because it's an energetic imprint that has a physicality to it, and I think that's a big part of what we're doing here. So anyway, let's cover that. Let's cover that. And if Kimberly's on?
Yeah, I don't know. She's out west, and
okay. I saw where she was on earlier, but she said she was having problems.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'll put up some posts, but I just want to point out to everybody, I'm getting really blown up, so I'm going to turn this over to Franco. Let's support Franco and Kimberly. We're moving into higher ground. They have been absolutely integral parts of so many people's growth. They have a totally different way of doing it. They don't bring a lot of attention to themselves. I hope to utilize this platform to expand awareness of what they're doing in the effort of bringing in 5D commerce and abundance. But in the meantime, I would ask everybody to consider making a contribution to Franco and Kimberly and their cause, because it's all free information. If you don't see the link for their PayPal or whatever venue they're using, you're welcome to send that to me. We put up the comment after every show and just put Franco's name on it for Franco. If you want to send a contribution to Soulogy, and we'll forward it to Franco. So, having said that, can you give us a rundown? I did watch parts of the last 3 that you did. Can you give us a rundown where the series is at in terms of, the sequence of what you're presenting, and also where it's at in terms of platforms and how people can tap in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, some exciting news. First of all, yes, you're right. The Advancing Consciousness series is on YouTube, Vimeo. There's a Facebook group. They all have the same name, Advancing Consciousness series. And they're usually a couple of hours long. They're actually go quite in depth on different topics and subjects and so forth. And I keep them as current as possible as what's really happening right now, giving the proper tools that are, highly beneficial. It's also, if you want to look it up, it's also on Facebook, and the Facebook group, of course, is called Advancing Consciousness series. But there's also my personal page and my profile page. But I did launch, and we are on episode 17 now of Advancing Consciousness podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So there's a separate YouTube channel and Vimeo channel called Advancing Consciousness Podcast. That goes out every day. It's shorter. They're usually around 30 minutes long. Different topics, different things coming up. There's a Facebook group called Advancing Consciousness Podcast.
Okay.
So it's only, we're only at episode 16 going into 17 tomorrow. But so it's only been out for a couple of weeks. And so that's growing in that respect. We also have a workshop coming up December 5th and December 6th. It's a 2-day workshop, Saturday, Sunday. That workshop is at some point after I get off this call, I'm going to post it in the comment section, the link for it. The interesting of the topic is seeing beyond our perception to experience a new reality, to experience our new reality. And so it's very instrumental for people where we are right now. And it's available. It's a live stream. And if you can't join us live, you can also join us. You can get the video and audio recordings. Here's the interesting part. It is being offered as a recommended, like the price, what it is, but it's based totally on donation. So in fact, you can get the live stream with the video or the audio recording, or the video recording only. And we have it there saying, okay, this is what we would normally charge, but you can offer whatever you want. You can offer more or less. I've had people offer $1, $5. Some people have offered $500, for example. I'm just giving you an example. Whatever. So the reason we do it this way, we feel it's super instrumental right now to come together in large numbers to facilitate each other to get more tools, more clarity, and whatever else, so that we can take a step forward. Now, some people have said, okay, times are tough, whatever it is, we can't pay, $185 Canadian, which ends up being, $140 American for the full live stream and whatever else. So offer whatever you feel, whatever you can. It's up to you. I think it won't accept anything less than $1 because of the fact the way the thing is set up. I was trying to do it for free, but the platform that I'm on doesn't accept that. You could do it, but then you can't do it the other way. So I said, okay, fine. So it's opened up for whatever amount you want. So it's coming up, and I'm going to be promoting it some more. I'm going to put the links on on all your platforms and my platforms too. The link for you to go check it. Once you go on the link, it gives you a full description of what we're covering, and it's on the 5th and the 6th of December. And it's about seeing or see beyond your perception, because we've all adopted perceptions and ideas, what reality is, what life is, and the game. And it's a lot to do with what we talked about today, seeing beyond all of that, and to be able to access that new reality.
Far out. I like that idea too, of the pay what you can or resonate with, or I love that. I've played with that. How long have you had this out? Have you got any feedback on it?
It's only been out 1 day. So we've had a few, I think 9 or 10 people have registered so far as of yesterday afternoon. That's when it got put online. I haven't promoted it on Facebook yet, except that I've put it on some of the links of the talks I've been doing and whatever else. So it's all brand new.
So let me understand too. The podcast, because I thought I caught a couple because they weren't very long. I was like, what's this?
They're only 30 minutes. Normally.
Okay, so are we? So the podcast is just originating from a different Facebook page that's named Advancing Consciousness Podcast, as opposed to Advancing Consciousness Series.
Yeah.
And it's originated there, and then you share it out. Is that right? Are you multi-streaming it?
Yes, I'm streaming it on Advancing Consciousness Podcast, and I'm also streaming it onto YouTube, Advancing Consciousness Podcast.
Can you add any, let's see. Yeah, could you add a couple of ours on there. So when you went multi-stream, they were on our primary platforms, like for instance, our primary Facebook platform and or our primary YouTube platform. Would they allow you to do that?
Yeah, I can, as long as I have the links, or else I would have to just share them.
No, no, no. I'm more interested in seeing. That's what we're doing now. We've got up to about 15 now, and but as long as we're integrating, which is what we're doing with the website, with your work and so on, I can make you an admin. That's what I had to do to get into other groups. They had to make me an admin, and then I went in. And so anytime we go live, we're live on those as well. And so, and I think that because of the way the algorithms are working, it might be beneficial to to stream on like Soulogy One Studios Facebook page and maybe Soulogy One Studios YouTube channel. If you're capable to do that, I'd love to see that happen because it's just going to put you in front of more people.
Yeah, I have been streaming it to Soulogy. Now, the thing is, the other thing I wanted to mention about the podcast is the video audio version of it is on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, and so forth, and also on Twitter and LinkedIn. But we also have just the audio version of it that's available on Podbean, but it's also available on Apple and all the other Spotify and a whole bunch of other ones.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I created that content so it's not so long. The fact is, people can listen to it whenever they're doing other things without sitting at a computer or watching it. So that's available. So I do not stream the podcast at the moment. I will in the near future, but I'm streaming twice a week the Advancing Consciousness series, which I usually what I do is I just share the stream to your platform. So I'm assuming it comes live when it is, because I can't keep track of all of them anyways. But if there's a specific link, like a URL with a stream key, then I can stream it wherever you want, because I have multi.
Well, that's a
platform can stream into many different platforms, like Ustream and other stuff.
You're multi-streaming from Vimeo, is that right?
Yeah. So
that's right.
I have two things. So I have a software called Livestream Studio 6, which can multi-stream. The problem is with that, I have to reduce how many multi-stream because it uses a much more bandwidth.
Okay.
And I stream to Vimeo each and every time, and that has a dozen different platforms they can go. So I can stream on many platforms.
The question is, can you stream Vimeo to Restream? I'll look into it.
As long as there's a URL and a stream key, it can go anywhere.
All right, I got you. All right, I got you. We got our fourth and final show in 22 minutes. I just put up I copied and pasted what Kimberly put up.
Okay.
So it went on all platforms. If you resonate with Franco, what he shares, please consider supporting the work. Contributions are welcome and greatly appreciated. There's the PayPal. And if anybody can't find it and wants to support what Kimberly and Franco are doing, please send me a message or send us a contribution to our PayPal and put Franco's name on it. We'll forward it to him. It's good seeing you again. I'll see you next month.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Take care. Give Kimberly a hug.
I will. She's a few thousand kilometers away, but
I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't. I'd be like, I'd have to teleport to Morgan at this point.
I talk to her daily, but at the same time, I'll see her. She's back on the 30th of November. So
that won't be too far.
She's spending time with her kids out west.
Oh, right on. All right, Franco. Love you. I'll see you later. Thank you.